reliable, cheap, effective. The most produced armoured vehicle of the German forces of World War II was all these things. I am Lozy, and welcome to the first episode of Weapons of War. The Sturmgeschütz 3, or StuG for short. An ugly name for a machine built from the ground up for an ugly war. The development of the StuG started in the field of Flanders. During the First World War, tanks had shown that they were effective for clearing enemy strongpoints of barbed wire and machine guns, allowing the path for infantry to be easier to cross. Erich von Manstein recognised the need for a direct assault gun. Manstein had developed the idea of this assault artillery to please the warring factions within the German army, Guderian on one side and Beck on the other, the former being a proponent of blitzkrieg and tank warfare, and the latter a stalwart in the field of tactics, relying on infantry with tanks as support. The new Sturm artillery would act as an armoured fighting vehicle that would provide support for the infantry to push through the enemy defences, allowing for the Wehrmacht to push forward and avoid being bogged down by strongpoints, bridging the gap between speed and all-out support. In 1935, Daimler-Benz was given the contract to create this new Sturm artillery. They were required to produce an armoured vehicle with a 7.5cm howitzer with a casemate structure, and a traverse on the gun of at least 25 degrees. It also had to protect the crew and be no taller than an average soldier, and it was this last requirement that was to make the StuG one of the most effective ambushers of the war, with an extremely low profile. Daimler wasted no time getting to work. They based the vehicle off the chassis of the Panzer III, and for the 7.5cm gun they modified the Quick 37 that was mounted onto the Panzer IVs to create the StuG 37. This new vehicle entered service in January 1940, yet after initial testing it was deemed that the open-top version of the vehicle would be unsuitable, and it wasn't until March of the same year that the new armoured assault gun was officially designated the Sturmgeschütz 3 aus A. The StuG missed out on widespread use in Full Gelb and Full Rot, the invasion of the lowlands and France respectively. The short-barreled versions of the StuG would go through various iterations from the Aus A to the Aus E, with the Aus D and Aus E having 650 ordered. These were improved with radios, removing the viewing port that was seen as a weak point and adding an MG34 to assist with close quarter defences. Yet by 1942 there was a severe issue with destroying Russian tanks on the Eastern Front, particularly the new T-34 and KB-1. The main German battle tank at the time was the Panzer III, which was armed with a 5cm gun, which, while it had a high muzzle velocity, had many issues penetrating the Russian armour. In March 1942, the StuG Aus F was ordered, with the 7.5cm StuG 40 L43. At 3.3 metres in length, there was a massive increase in muzzle velocity, and at point-blank range, the new gun could penetrate 99mm of sloped armour. At the optimal firing range of 500 metres, the gun in the StuG could easily knock out T-34s, and the StuG went from infantry support tank to all-out tank hunter. In December 1942, the new major model of StuG was rolling off the production line. The Aus G was the most produced of all the StuGs, with around 8,500 produced, outnumbering all the production lines of the Panzer IV. The Aus G was also produced right up until the end of the war. The major difference between the Aus G and the versions before it was the up-armouring of the StuG, going from 50 to 80mm, as well as simplification and design, allowing it to be built faster, and a top-mounted MG34. Throughout the remaining 2.5 years of production, the Aus G did get some updates, including side skirts and standoff armour. And in 1943, huge Allied bombing raids led to development of the StuG 4, based off the Panzer IV chassis, with 1,100 being built by the end of the war. However, despite being the most produced AVF of the German forces, they were not frontline units initially, being deployed behind the front line of tanks to secure the flanks and clear the way for the following infantry. Yet in the push against the Axis forces, the StuG shone. StuGs had more kills than Panthers and Tigers combined from 1943 to 1945, yet what may have helped this was the fact that the StuG was deployed across all the Third Reich's fronts, and the Allies of the Fatherland. The StuG may have not had the fame or glory attached to it like the Tiger, yet it did have its fair share of successes. During the first 15 days of operations in Russia, Oberleutnant Pelikan's unit destroyed 91 tanks and 23 bunkers, as well as armoured trains and trucks. Even the famous Michael Wittmann, a tank ace from Normandy driving Tigers, was a StuG commander during Barbarossa. When the Aus F rolled around, the StuGs of the SS were outperforming the Tigers of the units, killing 44 T-34s compared to only 30 for the Tigers in the recapture of Kharkov on the Eastern Front. The low profile of the StuG also made it lethal in the Norman hedgerows, being able to surprise Allied tanks as they pushed down roads. Thus, once again, they proved their use compared to some of the German tanks that so many deemed so excellent. With thousands being built, the StuG was an important part of the Wehrmacht. While not reaching the fame that other armoured fighting vehicles reached during World War II, it was the workhorse of the German army, providing it with success and a vehicle that could fight the enemies of the Reich until its last days.